a real scandal. Otherwise, all of the other rioting and stuff is either spontaneous, because there is this capability to get these things going in a spontaneous way, or it's the CIA or British or NATO networks saying let's go out in the streets. Now, a couple of things that could be at work here. Since the person involved making the movie against Muhammad is a Coptic Christian, this sets up something really serious for Egypt, right? Coptic Christians are about 10% of the population of Egypt. If you get some kind of an explosion there, that could become really, really bloody and really, really ugly, and that would destabilize Egypt. That would essentially be a civil war in Egypt, and that may be what these Anglo-American lunatics are looking for. The other thing which I think is extremely important is you have to remember that Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Bahrain and Kuwait and Oman and probably Jordan and Morocco also, the monarchies of the Arab world, these are reactionary monarchies, absolute monarchies, but especially Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and maybe Qatar, but that group, the Gulf, they are on the verge of revolution. And this would be a real revolution. This would not be a fake color revolution, a fake Arab Spring that doesn't change anything.
Sure.
Remember, a revolution means an institutional change. You overthrow a monarchy, that's a revolution. You end slavery, that's a revolution, right? But in this case, they probably have both, right? They have household slavery as well as absolute monarchy. One of the effects of changing the subject is to help the Saudi royal house, frankly. As long as people are running around saying freedom and democracy, human rights, that's really bad for the Saudi monarchy, right? That puts the tremendous pressure on them, as well as on these fakers in Bahrain, right? The royal family there, and then the ones in Qatar, right, who do Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera, right, trumpets human rights and democracy to the world, and that's an absolute monarchy with no election.
Let me just stop you. And CNN's had their own producers quit and say when they're in Qatar and they're machine gunning men, women, and children, CNN will not let that go on the news with little CIA Anderson Cooper, the twit. But let's just stop. But let me inject this.
To finish the point, just the idea is these countries, these monarchies use anti-Israeli, anti-U.S. as a way to keep themselves in power. In other words, if I'm out there demonstrating against the House of Saud, that's bad for the House of Saud. But what they can say now is go out and demonstrate against the U.S. Of course, go out, those infidels, they're no good. This is a way to relieve the tremendous pressure building up on the Saudi monarchy and these crazy absolute monarchies in these Gulf Emirates.
No, I agree with you, and this is my next point. We've got to get into the economy, Tarpley. I really want to get your take on that, Doc. Is that people ask why the West helped trigger some of the first parts of the Arab Spring. That was because with their Google predictive programming, they admit that they know when dollar devaluation globally causes food prices to go up, where people are making $2 a day on average, and 60% of their money goes to food. You're not just now hungry, you're starving. That's going to cause unrest, so they want to trigger it to try to direct it. And so that's why they've tried to have it be a Sunni-based, Saudi Arabian-backed takeover and have it be sectarian revolution instead of economic revolution. Do you agree with that statement?
The reason the price of oil goes up and the reason the price of food goes up is speculation, speculation, speculation.
Which is dollar devaluation.
No, it's not the same thing. It's direct speculation in these markets using derivatives.
Sure, but the QEs has also made prices go up globally. That's not debated.
Nobody's willing to admit. None of the people writing in these financial newspapers.
Well, I don't care if they don't admit it. There is inflation caused by the monetization of debt.
Yeah, but the main reason those prices are going up is because of credit derivatives and other derivatives that are used.
Yeah, but because dollars aren't worth anything, everybody's rushing into farmland and food and all that. That's also compounding it.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the main thing.
Okay, but listen, let's not argue about little bitty points. Get into the economy. Where is it globally? Okay, go ahead. Where is the economy worldwide right now with this announcement of unlimited QE?
Yeah, again, I think for the average person, a certain amount of inflation is a good thing. I think optimum inflation for the U.S. right now would be 5 to 7%. We've got the American people crushed by $1 trillion of consumer debt, crushed by $1 trillion of...
So you like the Federal Reserve policy of...
No, I just think this emphasis on inflation gets nobody anywhere. This is a sort of an Austrian school red herring.
Well, I agree that it's not going to be that much inflation because the money's being transferred to elites and to buy up bad paper.
It's being hoarded, right? We know there's a capital strike. There's a capital strike where the American corporations are hoarding a couple of $1 trillion, which they refuse to invest. How about a nice tax on undistributed profits to give them?
Why don't these crazy corporations invest and get people going? Do they think they're really going to get out of a violent revolution in this country and people rioting? I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, they should be investing in productive investment, plant and equipment, new jobs, new technology, but they don't do this. Now, let's look at this QE. You got to imagine the world economy, or let's say the U.S. economy. The U.S. economy is the victim of a vampire attack, or we might want to say a zombie attack. And the zombie attack in 2007, 2008, again, was done with derivatives, collateralized debt obligations, credit default swaps, these kinds of things. And this is also what's used to drive up the raw material prices. Since then, we've had Count Dracula has had his fangs in our throat, and he's sucking our blood. And the answer that the Federal Reserve has had is what you'd call a hot money stimulus. And it just says, we're going to flood the banking system with cheap money, 0% in most cases.
All right, Webster, stay there. We got to go to break. It's a hard break. You know you're on the Genesis Network. We got to go to break right here, a network break. We'll be right back with Webster, Griffin, Tarpley on the other side to break down exactly what's happening with QE Unlimited. He's the vampire slayer. There he is, Von Helsing. Alex Jones here with a message that could revolutionize health in this country. Going back about a year and a half ago, I began to learn about the incredible health effects of longevity products. Aaron Dykes lost 92 pounds. We're going to show you some before and afters. Aaron, break down what happened, your story.
I've worked really hard with diet and exercise to try to lose weight, but I just didn't get the results. It just didn't happen. Then I saw what you were doing with InfoWarsTeam.com. I wasn't even trying to lose weight, but I got it because I wanted to feel better energy. I wanted that nutrition. Didn't even understand how that could kickstart my own weight loss goals. But the products did that for me. I found myself suddenly losing weight, more energetic, wanting to exercise, wanting to eat the right foods.
And they don't even advertise it as weight loss. I want to challenge our radio listeners to go to InfoWarsTeam.com. Sign up as a distributor and get wholesale pricing discounts at InfoWarsTeam.com. Going back to Webster. Webster, please continue in this short segment and the one little segment coming up. Then Max Kaiser's joining us to get into the economy in depth. You were making the point about the vampire has been sucking on us lovingly, telling us that we've got a vampire on us because we're bad people. But if we'll just give the vampire more blood, he'll fix everything. So this vampire is a black hole. No amount of blood will ever satisfy the undead. Well, as you said, you coined the term, I think, zombie banks 10 years ago, or I think that's attributed to you. Zombies are quite popular now, so maybe it's fitting we're ruled by zombie banks, Webster.
Look, the Count Dracula metaphor goes like this. We were attacked by Count Dracula the vampire in 2007, 2008, and ever since then, he's got his fangs in our throat. Now, along comes Bernanke, and Bernanke says, oh, let's give a transfusion to the poor victim. Except they don't give the transfusion directly into the victim, us, the economy. They give the transfusion to Count Dracula. So they say, we'll pipe the blood in through Count Dracula, and we'll make his fangs go into reverse, and that blood will then arrive into the victim. It doesn't work because of the black hole, because of what you just said. The mass of kited, bankrupt derivatives in the zombie banks, in the too-big-to-fail money center banks of Wall Street, absorbs all the liquidity. Or they take hot money, that's what the Fed is generating. The hot money flees overseas. It goes to the hottest speculative market, right? Be it Kuala Lumpur or Warsaw or whatever it is, it flies there. So this is what also brings down the dollar. The dollar is weakened to some degree because of the of the effects of this.
So where is it headed? Do you agree with Kaiser that we're going to have a huge implosion by next April?
Now, let's see.